So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 30 minutes. The idea is very simple. We want you to cover your current affairs and we want you to cover them daily. But we don't want you to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. Therefore, we shall cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now, the thing is that just watching this lecture would be job half done, because just after watching it, you need to revise it as well. Why? Well, revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay, so let's begin today's lecture. But like we do this always, well, let's first take a look at the topics that we shall cover today. Okay, so let's take a look. So yeah, daily current affairs, 17 June 2025. Now, what topics we shall cover? So number one would be Bonn Climate Change Conference. Okay, well, Bonn Climate Change Conference, which functions under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, well, it is underway. So we'll talk about this. What is this conference? Then we'll talk about economic cost of Israel-Iran war. Well, Israel-Iran war is impacting the whole world, but it is also impacting the whole world, including India, economically. Now, what is the economic cost of Israel-Iran war? What are the economic implications of this war to India? We'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about SIPRI, report on nuclear weapons. SIPRI is a think tank, global think tank, which talks about arms and armaments of different countries. Okay, so what is SIPRI? What is the report on India's nuclear weapons, Pakistan's nuclear weapons, China's nuclear weapons? We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about International Big Cat Alliance. It is an alliance, international alliance, which was launched by India. So India has the leadership position of this alliance. So we'll talk about this alliance as well, because some new developments have taken place with respect to this alliance. Clear? So these are the four topics that we shall zero in our attention on. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with Bonn Climate Change Conference. Now, look, the thing is that, well, there is this convention, climate change convention, called United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Okay, now this convention was signed in 1992, and under this convention, almost all the countries of the world are its signatories. Okay, they all are its signatories and they all work towards, well, preventing climate change. Clear? Now, to prevent climate change, all countries have to come together. So these countries meet annually. All these countries who are member of UNFCCC, they meet annually. And that annual meeting is known as Conference of Parties. Parties means parties to this convention. So Conference of Parties happen every year, okay? And it happens in different locations of the world. Clear? So everyone is aware of Conference of Parties, okay? This Conference of Parties is also known as Climate Change Summit, popularly known as Climate Change Summit, and it happens every year. But under UNFCCC, one meeting also happens every year, and that is known as Bonn Climate Meeting, okay? Now, it is called Bonn Climate Meeting because it always takes place in Bonn, Germany. Okay, so along with Conference of Parties, there is another climate change meeting that takes place every year, annually, and it takes place only in one place, and that is Bonn, Germany. So currently this Bonn, Germany summit, or this climate change meeting, Bonn Climate Change Meeting, is underway. It is going on. So we need to know what this meeting is all about. Okay, so let's talk about Bonn Climate Change Conference. Clear? Remember, this Bonn Climate Change Conference happens every year. It is annual, plus it is basically under UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Clear? Now, about Bonn Conference. So it is formally known as, its formal name is Sessions of UNFCCC Subsidiary Bodies. Okay? Formally known as Sessions of UNFCCC Subsidiary Bodies. This is its official name. Popular name is Bonn Conference, but this is its official name. It is an annual meeting under UNFCCC, and UNFCCC was signed in 1992. Okay, now remember, it is different from COP, Conference of Parties, because in Conference of Parties, Well, all the countries who are parties to this convention, they meet. Okay, but in this, subsidiary bodies meet. Well, all the organizations, all the scientific organizations, civil society organizations which are affiliated to UNFCCC, they meet. So you understand the difference. Under conference of parties, well, countries come together. Okay, in this Bonn conference, all the subsidiary bodies. For example, there is a scientific research body that does scientific research on climate change. It is a subsidiary body of UNFCCC. Similarly, there are many other subsidiary bodies. They actually meet. Okay, not countries, these bodies. Clear? That is why it is called sessions of subsidiary bodies. So along with the annual conference of parties, it is only other regular climate summit hosted by UNFCCC. So COP happens regularly, okay, every year. This Bonn summit also happens regularly every year, but you need to know the difference. COP is when countries get together. Subsidiary bodies meeting is, this session is, Bonn conference is basically different. The subsidiary bodies of UNFCCC, they meet in this. Clear? Now, it is attended by members of committees that assessed UNFCCC. So, UNFCCC has many committees under it. They meet in this conference. Governing bodies in implementing and reviewing climate change agreements. It is also attended by indigenous representatives. Okay, there are many indigenous tribes in the world who are affected by climate change. They also send their representatives. Many international organizations related to climate change, they send their representatives. Many scientists come, civil society organizations come in this summit. Clear? So that's all you need to know as far as Bonn conference is concerned. And currently it is underway. Okay, it will get concluded around 26 June. And the major agenda in Bonn conference this year is climate finance. You see, to stop climate change, you need money. Well, developed countries have money, but developing countries don't have that much money. So how should you ensure that developing countries also have this climate finance to tackle climate change? This is the agenda, major agenda for discussion in this Bonn conference. Clear? Now, some of the key players, key attendees, okay, key subsidiary bodies that would attend this Bonn conference. Okay, there are two permanent subsidiary bodies of UNFCCC. So UNFCCC has many temporary subsidiary bodies. There are two permanent subsidiary bodies. Who are these two permanent subsidiary bodies? One is subsidiary body for implementation. Okay, SBI. So the main role of SBI is to check whether countries are implementing their targets of climate change. Okay, each country has promised some targets that they would reduce their greenhouse gases by this much, they would increase forest cover by this much. Okay, these are all targets given by different countries. So SBI basically keeps a track of those targets. How many of those targets have been achieved? The targets that have not been achieved, how far are they to achievement? Okay, all these things. Okay, SBI keeps track of all these things and communicates these things, this data, to UNFCCC. Okay, so that when the next conference of parties happen, well, all the countries have this data, because this data from different countries has been collected by SBI. Clear? The other is subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice. So look, there are many scientific research organizations who are doing climate change research. Just a second. Climate change research. How much climate change has happened? How far are we to complete climate change? All these things. There are scientific organizations. The biggest scientific organization or a panel of scientists is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So all the studies, all the scientific studies also need to be communicated to, well, different members of UNFCCC. So subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice, basically, as the name suggests, it gives advice on science related matters with respect to climate change to UNFCCC. So these two permanent subsidiary bodies would be attending this Bonn summit. Apart from them, many other subsidiary bodies would be attending it. Simple. Okay, that's all. That's all you need to know as far as this conference is concerned, Bonn conference. Just remember, along with COP, it is another, or it is the only, after COP, it is the only annual meeting under UNFCCC. Clear? Okay. Now let's move on to another topic which is very important, and that is economic cost of Iran-Israel war. You see, the thing is that Iran and Israel are fighting, and their fight or their war will have like very serious geopolitical, security related ramifications for the entire world. This war will affect the entire world, okay? But not just from the perspective of security and geopolitics. It will affect the entire world from the perspective of global economy, from the perspective of economics as well. And India will also be severely affected. Now you might think that how would India get affected? Okay, both Israel and Iran share friendly relations with India, and they are fighting amongst themselves. Nobody is fighting with India, and India is not basically forced to take sides. So how will this war affect India? It is happening far away from India. Well, this war will affect India economically, and our economic policy makers, they are really concerned about this, okay? They are really worried about this, because if this conflict gets prolonged, well, there would be serious economic ramifications or consequences for India. Now, how will it affect us economically? Let's investigate that, okay? So, economic cost of Israel-Iran war. Now, the thing is that since the war has started, well, already some economic consequences have affected us. Okay, already some things are happening, and if this conflict prolongs, more economic consequences would come to us. Okay, now the two immediate economic consequences of this war are as following. Two immediate consequences. Okay, first of all, look at this. Okay, this blue line, as you can see, is a very famous shipping route. Very famous, just a second, shipping route through which global sea trade happens, okay? And this is known as the Red Sea route. If India and other countries in East Asia like China and all, they want to trade with Europe, they mostly use this blue line, okay, this blue line sea route. But if this blue line sea route is blocked, then they have to take a longer route, and that is this red line. As you can see, they have to cross the entire Africa and then go to Europe. Clear? So this is more time taking. This red line is more time taking, more costly. That is why India and other Asian countries, when they are doing trade with Europe, they prefer this Red Sea route. Okay. Now the thing is that the global sea trade happens through ships. Right? Global sea trade happens through ships. Now these ships have to do insurance also. What if some ship gets damaged midway? So there is insurance also. Clear? Plus these ships charge some money if you want to export using these ships. Okay. Now as you can see on this Red Sea route, this is Iran. Okay. Iran and Israel are almost close to this Red Sea route. If this conflict prolongs, this route can get damaged, or this route can get riskier. When this route will get riskier, the shipping cost will increase, insurance cost will increase, and if India wants to export goods from this route or import goods from this route, well, because of high transportation cost, because shipping cost has increased, insurance cost has increased. Because of high transportation cost, there will be inflation. India will have to sell its goods at a higher price, which it doesn't want, and India's import bill will also increase. Clear? So the first immediate cost has been, or the first immediate consequence has been, rising shipping and insurance cost. Rising shipping and insurance cost. This would hamper India's sea trade with Europe and West Asia, and this is something that India doesn't want, because it is hampering our global trade. Clear? The other point is that, well, Iran is a major supplier of crude oil and natural gas. If Iran is involved in a war, it won't be able to supply crude oil and natural gas. The supply of crude oil and natural gas would decline. And we know this, that when supply declines and demand is more, prices rise. Now, if crude oil becomes expensive for India, okay, then everything becomes expensive in India. Because when crude oil becomes expensive, petrol diesel will become expensive. Petrol diesel will become expensive. Transportation of goods within India would become expensive. And when transportation of all goods would become expensive, everything in India would become expensive, right? Because if you have to transport this pen from Delhi to Mumbai, now you have to spend more money transporting it. So this pen would cost more in Mumbai. Make sense? So this would cause heavy inflation in India. Clear? Make sense? This is the case. These are the two economic consequences. Now let's talk about these economic consequences one by one. First, let's talk about impact on trade. So most of India's exports to West Asia and Europe go through the Red Sea route. And because the shipping costs and insurance costs have increased on this Red Sea route, well, India's exports are getting damaged to Europe. This is a problem. Plus, India already does a lot of trade with both Israel and Iran. Plus, India runs a trade surplus with both these countries. What do we mean by trade surplus? Trade surplus means we export to these countries way more than we import from them. So it is these two countries are very important for us because we are, in net terms, we are earning more money from them because we export more goods to them and import less. Okay. But if both these countries are involved in a war, don't you think they won't, basically imports from these places would get reduced and they won't buy that much from India because they are involved in a war-like situation. Clear? So trade with Iran and Israel would also get damaged. As per Global Trade Research Initiative, India has significant trade exposure to both Iran and Israel. In fact, India runs a trade surplus with both of them. But if both of them are involved in a war, well, India's trade would get damaged. So this is another economic consequence. Plus one more thing, energy security. Nearly 2/3 of India's crude oil and half of its liquefied natural gas imports pass through Strait of Hormuz. Okay, this is the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, this narrow water body, this is Strait of Hormuz. 50% of India's natural gas and 66% of crude oil comes from this area. Now this is Iran, and Iran has threatened that if Israel continues its onslaught on Iran, Iran would block this Strait of Hormuz. Okay, and if Iran blocks this, most of our crude oil and natural gas would also get blocked. And if we do not get access to crude oil, natural gas, we would suffer economically. And that basically is a question mark on our energy security. This is the problem. Clear? So these are the three issues with respect to global trade, whether trade with respect to other goods or trade related to LNG and crude oil. We will suffer. Okay? Plus we will suffer on other accounts also, and that is impact on oil prices. You see, prices of anything would increase if demand exceeds supply. Whenever demand exceeds supply, okay, prices increase. Now this can happen through two ways. Either demand increases or demand stays where it is. Supply falls. Supply falls drastically. Now demand for crude oil globally is round about at the same level. But if Iran is involved in a war, it won't be able to supply crude oil. So supply will fall short and prices would increase. And we are very sensitive to oil prices. Our economy is very sensitive to oil prices. But there is some good news. And that good news is that, look, well, we as it is don't buy that much oil from Iran. Plus, the world as it is doesn't buy that much oil from Iran because of economic sanctions on Iran. So USA has put economic sanctions on Iran because of which Iran cannot sell its crude oil to many places. Plus, other oil producing countries, OPEC, Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC and OPEC Plus. Well, they say that they have surplus capacity. So even if Iran completely stops producing crude oil, we have surplus capacity, we will sell this oil. Okay. So this is the good news, that crude oil prices won't rise dramatically because, well, the shortage of supply because of Iran can be very well compensated by these other countries, Saudi Arabia, Iraq and all these. Clear? So oil prices won't rise. But this good news comes again with another bad news. And that bad news is threat from Iran. And what is that threat? That Iran will block this Strait of Hormuz. If Iran decides to block this Strait of Hormuz, already Saudi Arabia exports crude oil to India using this route. Iraq, Kuwait, UAE, all these countries export oil to India using this route. If this route will be blocked by Iran, they won't be able to sell oil to India. So, it's not because there is not enough oil that there are going to be supply shortages. Well, Iran would block the supply of oil by blocking Strait of Hormuz. And because of that, supply will fall drastically and prices would increase. So Iran has not so far stopped Strait of Hormuz, but Iran says that if this conflict prolongs, we will stop it. Okay, and that would have serious consequences for India. So therefore, all the economic policy makers in India are praying that please this conflict stops. Okay, makes sense? So this is the economic cost of this war. Clear? And now let's move on to third topic of the day, and that is SIPRI's report on nuclear weapons. Okay, now what is SIPRI? Stockholm Institute for Peace Research. Okay, Stockholm Peace Research Institute. Now, Stockholm Peace Research Institute is in Stockholm, Sweden, and it is basically a think tank. This think tank basically collects data and publishes various reports. Reports on arms and armaments. How much arms and armaments are being imported, how many arms and armaments are being exported by different countries. Okay, which country has the most defense budget, which country has the most nuclear weapons, who are the top 5 arms importers in the world, who are the top 5 arms exporters in the world. All of this data with respect to defense industry, well, comes from SIPRI. SIPRI is the most renowned, most trusted source for this data. Okay, now it has recently released its yearbook for 2025, and in that yearbook it says that India has more nuclear weapons than Pakistan, okay, but China has almost 3 times the number of nuclear weapons than India. So as far as Pakistan is concerned, we are, well, better than them. But as far as China threat is concerned, well, we need to worry. As far as nuclear threat from China is concerned. Okay, this is what SIPRI has said in its yearbook report. SIPRI has also said some other things. So let's discuss the nuclear data that SIPRI has released and also some other things. Okay. So SIPRI's report on nuclear weapons. As you can see, SIPRI yearbook 2025, it publishes this yearbook every year. Okay. Now, as per this SIPRI yearbook, Stockholm Peace Research Institute basically. Okay. Now, as per this SIPRI report, well, if you're talking only about nuclear weapons, well, India has 180 nuclear weapons. Pakistan has 170 nuclear weapons. So as far as competition with Pakistan is concerned, we are ahead of them. China has nearly 3 times the number of nuclear weapons than India. China has 600 nuclear weapons. Okay, 600. So this is something that featured in the news today, okay, with respect to nuclear weapons. But SIPRI has also revealed some other data points. But before discussing those data points, let's talk about SIPRI itself. Okay, so about SIPRI. So it is a globally recognized independent research institute focused on conflict, armaments, arms control and disarmament. Okay. Now SIPRI releases, apart from its yearbook, it releases multiple reports. So it releases trends in world military expenditure, where it talks about which country has how much military budget. Okay. So it provides data on global military spending. As per its 2024 report, India has the 5th largest military or defense budget in the world. Okay. Then SIPRI's arms transfer database. This is another report released by SIPRI which talks about import-export of arms. Okay, it tracks import-export of arms. SIPRI also monitors and reports on nuclear weapons. And based on that report, well, we know that India has 180, Pakistan has 170 and China has 600. Okay, including number of warheads and delivery system. Clear? Now let's talk about other things that were revealed in this yearbook. So, it says that, well, we know about India, Pakistan and China, but the most number of nuclear weapons are with Russia and USA. SIPRI report also said that Russia and US have the largest military stockpile of 9 nuclear forces, okay, of nuclear weapons basically. So, Russia has 5459 nuclear weapons and USA has 5177. Russia has a little more nuclear weapons than USA. Then, global arm imports. So, the top 5 arms importers, the countries which import the most: Ukraine, then India. So India is the second largest importer of defense equipment. Then Qatar, Saudi Arabia and then Pakistan. Pakistan is also in the top 5. Top 5 arms exporters. So USA is the biggest arms exporter, then France, Russia, China and Germany. Together, all 5 of them accounted for 72% of the global arms exports. Okay? And that's all. That's all you need to know as far as this news item is concerned. And now let's jump to the last news item of the day, and that is International Big Cat Alliance. So look, International Big Cat Alliance is basically an alliance between different countries to protect big cats. Now, who are big cats? Tigers, lions, all these big carnivorous animals that belong to the cat family. Leopards, cheetahs, they are big cats. Now, these big cats face a lot of threats, okay, and some of them are endangered, critically endangered, close to extinction. So, India basically led the way. India proposed the idea of forming an International Big Cat Alliance, okay. So, India is the founder of this Big Cat Alliance and along with India, all the other countries which have these big cats in big numbers, they have come together to protect these big cats. Okay, this is International Big Cat Alliance. Now, this International Big Cat Alliance was launched in 2023 by India and many countries have so far joined it. Okay, plus because it was founded by India, its headquarters are also in New Delhi. So, in a sense, as far as biodiversity conservation is concerned, India has taken an initiative and India has taken a leadership position as far as biodiversity conservation is concerned with respect to big cats. So this is good international step by India. It basically enhances India's leadership role in the global affairs. Nonetheless, well, the inaugural meeting, the first meeting of this Big Cat Alliance took place in New Delhi recently, and all the members have decided to make India's Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav as the president of this International Big Cat Alliance. Okay, that was in the news. But we need to also know what is this International Big Cat Alliance, the finer details about this alliance. So let's talk about it, okay? So International Big Cat Alliance. So it was launched by India in April 2023 on the 50th anniversary of Project Tiger. Okay, so in 1973, India launched Project Tiger to protect tiger population in India. So it was like it was its 50th anniversary, this project's 50th anniversary, when we decided to internationalize this effort, and we launched International Big Cat Alliance in April 2023, inviting other countries. The aim is to promote the conservation of 7 major big cat species. So basically this alliance will focus only on these 7 big cat species. What are these 7 big cat species? And remember the names of these 7 species. Questions might be asked in your prelims examination, okay? So tiger, lion, leopard, snow leopard, cheetah, jaguar, puma. There are many other big cats as well, but this alliance will protect these 7 species of big cats in 95 range countries where these big cats are found. Okay, focus areas would be, well, this alliance would focus on preventing poaching, illegal hunting, illegal wildlife trade and habitat loss. Okay, the reason why these big cats or the numbers or the population of these big cats are threatened, the reason why their population is threatened is because Well, they face threat from illegal hunting. They face threat from illegal wildlife trade. Okay. Well, in black market, the teeth of tigers are quite popular. Okay, and so are many other body parts of tigers, lions, all these things. Okay. So to prevent illegal wildlife trade, to prevent illegal hunting, poaching, and also their numbers are being threatened because of habitat loss, because of rapid urbanization. Forest areas are shrinking and they're losing their habitat. So this Big Cat Alliance would basically focus on these areas. The IBCA aims to promote knowledge exchange, research and training, strengthen global cooperation and mobilize resources for big cat conservation. That's about it. Okay. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. I'm sure about it. But it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on Telegram channel. So please do not forget to revise this lecture. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget what was discussed in this lecture. So please do not forget to revise. And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.